My dad's journey with dementia may have started 7 years ago, or perhaps even earlier. We didn't realize it at the time because there wasn't much information available, and most importantly, we were overconfident that dementia would never happen in our family. It all began when my dad was first admitted to the hospital due to 7 sleepless nights after his knee replacement surgery. We initially assumed it was depression, as he was worried about not being able to work or go out with his friends. He had previously dealt with heart disease, but apart from a short span of shaky hands and weakening legs, he didn't have any other physical problems that would stop him from being active. In the last 3 months before he passed away, there were too many unexpected incidents. My daily routine involved bathing my dad at 8 a.m. and then giving him breakfast. After breakfast, I would brush his teeth and rinse his mouth. I placed a soft plastic container near his mouth and reminded him of the procedures. I would say, "Open your mouth, I will brush your teeth now, don't swallow." After brushing, I would tell him, "Now it's time to rinse, please spit out the water." The last step was using peppermint washing solution to keep his mouth fresh and hygienic. He was very cooperative and would slowly spit out the water into the plastic container. I would praise him, saying, "Good boy." Initially, I called him good boy and he looked at me puzzled. Eventually, he accepted it and followed my lead in calling himself a good boy. He always treated me like an old lady, so calling him a good boy seemed reasonable. I made sure to clean his mouth after every meal or drink without fail to ensure his mouth remained hygienic and fresh. Was I stepping into a world where reality intertwines with ethereal encounters? Each morning, as I went about my daily routine, I couldn't help but notice the presence of mysterious, white, and hazy figures drifting through our home. Curiously, they seemed to coexist in harmony with us, their translucent forms passing through me as if we inhabited different realms. Though their presence was intangible, their influence on my dad's reality grew stronger with each passing day. My dad was frequently asking me to buy food for them increased. During the day, I would use a lifting hoist to bring him to sit on an old massage chair under the fan. He instructed me to pass a gold chain to his friend, whose daughter was getting married. He seemed to have attended a few weddings or newborn baby parties in his mind. In all these parties, his gift would be a gold bracelet or gold chain. My goodness, my dad truly believed he was extremely rich. My answers to his requests were always the same: "Okay, I will give it to them." One evening, as I was about to switch off the TV program, he suddenly stopped me and exclaimed, "Absurd! How can she dress like this to attract men? I want to call the police to arrest her." His sleeping position made it impossible for him to see the TV show, so how he noticed the artist wearing a bikini swimsuit was amazing. One morning, as I lay resting on my dad's bed with my eyes half closed, a surreal sight unfolded before me. The bald old man I had seen standing at my gate 2 years ago appeared, accompanied by another mysterious figure who took a seat next to my dad's bed. I could hear their voices, but their words eluded me. A delicate barrier seemed to separate us from them, heightening the intrigue of the moment. Both of them directed their gaze towards my dad, who peacefully slumbered. A jolt of shock coursed through me as I whispered to myself, "This is the old man, the same one from before. But who is this other man by his side?" It was an unprecedented and unnerving encounter, leaving me feeling a sense of fear and bewilderment. In a swift reflex, I opened my eyes wide, only to find that they had vanished without a trace. On the following day, I reached out to my aunt, who resided in China, and shared the extraordinary scene with her. She revealed a startling revelation: my grandpa and his younger brother had tragically perished together. Perhaps, in some otherworldly manifestation, they had returned to visit my dad. It struck me that my dad had never laid eyes on his father or his uncle, explaining why he had vehemently resisted following his dad's commands 2 years ago. Could the slightly bald old man in my dad's presence be his long-lost father? It was a puzzling connection that could only be speculated upon. As the fateful day inched closer, signaling my dad's imminent departure from this world, whether it was due to a urinary infection or a high fever, my routine involved summoning an ambulance to transfer him to the hospital. However, about 1 to 2 weeks before his final day, something extraordinary occurred. One morning, he stirred from his slumber and spoke with a sense of certainty, "I am going home soon." His words struck me like a lightning bolt, leaving me stunned and at a loss for an appropriate response. "What do you mean? You are already home. This is your home. Where else do you want to go?" I inquired, desperately seeking an explanation. Softly, he uttered the words Jiling, a place I had never heard of before. In an attempt to decipher its meaning, I ventured, "Is it Ini?" A pronunciation resembling Indonesia in Chinese. However, he repeatedly denied it, affirming that it was indeed Jiling. The exact location eluded me, and I pleaded with him not to repeat it, realizing that he was struggling to catch his breath, exerting all his remaining strength to communicate. It was a missed opportunity to uncover the significance of that place. The question lingered in my mind: if he had confirmed it to be in China, it would have seemingly validated the notion that his father was truly inhabiting his body. This perplexing incident served as an undeniable sign that my dad's time on Earth was drawing to a close. In the final 5 days, a familiar pattern emerged as my dad found himself admitted to the hospital once again, this time due to a high fever. As soon as his temperature subsided, he was discharged. However, my conviction remained steadfast: it was his heartfelt desire to bid farewell to this world from the comfort of his own home. Consequently, on the day of his release, my brother took charge, ensuring my dad's safe return. Parking the car just outside our garage, we carefully maneuvered him and his wheelchair inside. For a fleeting moment, he regained a sense of awareness, his words echoing, "We were outside just now." Affirming his observation, I accompanied his entrance with the melody of his favorite song, serenading him as we crossed the threshold. As always, he playfully joined in, assisting me in completing the final 3 letters of the song. This time, his slumber lasted the entire 3 days of his hospital stay, punctuated only by the necessity of nourishment. Yet, upon his homecoming, he slept soundly, his appetite unyielding. On the second-to-last day, a Saturday that happened to coincide with the radio announcement of the final day for ancestral prayers in the Qingming festival, a subtle revelation escaped my dad's lips. Stirring from his slumber in the afternoon, he softly uttered, "Mom is coming." Regrettably, I failed to grasp the significance of his words, oblivious to the fact that my mother was arriving to guide him to her realm. It was only a momentary alarm, as I realized I had forgotten to prepare food and offer prayers to my mom at the temple. Although I knew my dad's departure was imminent, I had never fathomed that my mom would come to reclaim him, ushering him into her world. In the late evenings, it was customary for my dad to have a small meal before sleeping. Following our routine, around 10 p.m., I asked him, "Are you hungry? Would you like some bread?" He nodded, and I proceeded to feed him bread accompanied by a soothing Milo drink. However, moments later, he began coughing and regurgitated all the food. His clothes were soiled, dampened by the ordeal. Swiftly, I attended to him, carefully cleaning his body and changing him into fresh pajamas. Oblivious to any signs of breathlessness in my dad, perhaps due to my preoccupation, I then used the lifting hoist to transfer him to the comforting embrace of the old massage chair. With his immediate needs attended to, I turned my attention to the surroundings. I changed his bed sheets and pillowcase, ensuring a clean and serene environment for his final hours. As the clock struck midnight, and I gently guided him back to bed, a sense of unease washed over me. Observing him closely, I noticed that he appeared increasingly frail and weak. Instinctively, I reached out to my younger brother, desperate for assistance, only to discover that his phone was switched off. Frantically, I dialed my elder brother, hoping for a swift response. Yet, before his arrival, I witnessed my dad struggling to draw each precious breath. Realizing the gravity of the situation, I urgently called for an ambulance, seeking help in a race against time. On the other end of the line, a compassionate woman provided guidance, instructing me on how to perform chest compression or CPR to revive my dad. Her voice trembled as she said, "Use your hands to." Panic seized me, and without thinking, I clutched my dad's hands together, intending to employ them to apply pressure to his chest. In that harrowing moment, a sudden realization dawned upon me, underscoring my grave error. As if on cue, my brother arrived, greeted by the sight of his eldest son. With a gentle smile, my dad turned his head twice in acknowledgement, casting a fleeting glance at me before repeating the gesture. It was his poignant way of bidding us farewell. Shortly after, the ambulance team arrived, their trained hands measuring his fading heartbeat and pulses, ultimately confirming his passing in the early hours of the morning, around 1 a.m. The passing of my dad at home triggered a series of protocols. The ambulance officer promptly notified the police, prompting the arrival of 3 uniformed policemen to conduct their necessary investigations. Amidst the flurry of activities, I struggled to recall whether it was the ambulance or the police who aided in summoning a doctor. Nonetheless, around 2 to 3 a.m., a compassionate doctor arrived, solemnly certifying my dad's departure from this earthly realm. As the clock struck 4 a.m., the funeral company dispatched their staff, who reverently collected my dad's lifeless body, returning with him as the sun began to cast its golden rays. Following the customs and mourning rituals of Buddhism, the wake commenced, spanning 5 days. Remembering my dad's words when he was still alive, affirming that Taoism and Buddhism were intertwined, I faithfully adhered to the same practices that he had observed during my mom's funeral. With my dad's official departure from this world in 2014, the belief in Chinese culture held that the spirit of the departed would return on the 7th day. Curiosity consumed me. Would this ancient belief hold true? The answer to this lingering question awaits in the next episode, where I will delve into the events following my dad's transition from this earthly realm. Stay tuned as I unravel the mysterious connection between the realms of the living and the departed, and the poignant encounters that lie ahead on this extraordinary journey.